They called ICE on me, said I was an illegal immigrant. The truth, I'm a decorated U.S. Army veteran, and the woman behind it all was my HOA president, Karen. Yeah, that's how my quiet life in Willow Creek Estates exploded into a federal circus. I still remember the morning it happened, sun shining, birds chirping, and me washing my old Ford truck like any other Friday. Then those two black SUVs rolled up, tinted windows, agents stepping out in full gear. They looked serious, too serious. One of them asked Daniel Cruz. I froze for half a second. My stomach dropped, not because I'd done anything wrong, but because I already knew exactly who was behind this. Karen Drummond, HOA president. Mid-50s, blonde bob haircut so sharp it could slice glass. Always walking around like she owned the block, always pretending she loved diversity, as long as it stayed somewhere else. You see, I'm half Mexican, half white. My last name, Cruz, was all the excuse she needed to turn the neighborhood into her personal border patrol. At first, she acted nice. "Daniel, that's Spanish, right? I just love your culture." I'd smile, politely nod, and go about my day. But she kept pushing, asking where I was really from, hinting that my house looked rented, asking who paid my HOA dues. Then came the complaints the flag on my porch was too large, my grass was half an inch above regulation, my truck too old for community standards. I brushed it off. I'd fought in 2 tours overseas. I wasn't about to get rattled by a suburban dictator with a clipboard. But that morning when those ICE agents showed up, reality hit different. They asked for my ID. I gave them my driver's license, my veteran card, even my discharge papers. One of them looked at the card, then at me. His tone shifted immediately. "You served?" I nodded. "Iraq," I said quietly. The man straightened up and saluted. That's when Karen strutted out from behind her rose bushes, holding her phone up like she was filming some big crime bust. "Officers, that's him," she yelled, all puffed up with pride. But before she could finish, the agent turned to her. "Ma'am, this man is a decorated U.S. veteran. You just wasted federal resources." The silence that followed was delicious. Her face turned red, then purple. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Some pretended to check their mail just to see the show. Karen stammered something about just following procedure, but the only response she got was the sound of laughter from down the street. The agents apologized before leaving. One even gave me a small flag pin. "Mr. Cruz," he said, "if everyone served like you, our country would be a better place." Karen was walking her tiny dog at that exact moment. The look on her face priceless, like she'd just realized her HOA dues were being replaced with Spanish lessons. I smiled and said, "Hey Karen, next time maybe offer them lemonade." She yanked her dog and stormed off. But that night the whispers started. By the next morning, half the neighborhood had received texts saying I'd forged my papers and ICE got it wrong. She couldn't admit defeat, not Karen. The same woman who called federal agents was now calling them incompetent because they didn't arrest me. And I'll admit, for a while it got to me. I started doubting everything. I'd walk past houses I helped defend this country for, and people avoided eye contact. I asked myself, did I really belong here? I served for freedom, but somehow I was being treated like an intruder. There was a moment I almost packed my bags, just to escape the shame. But then I saw my old Army medal sitting on the shelf, the one that said, "Courage under fire." My father's words echoed in my head. "Son, never bow to someone who despises your roots." That's when something in me snapped back into place. I wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. If Karen wanted to play detective, I'd show her what real investigation looked like. So I started digging. Her husband, Bob Drummond, ran a small contracting business. His truck was always parked crooked, like he didn't believe in straight lines, which turns out matched his bookkeeping. I looked up his business license. Expired. His payroll sketchy. Online reviews mentioned workers who barely spoke English and got paid in cash. I visited a local construction site where one of his crews was working. Chatted with a guy over a soda. He told me flat out Bob paid half his team under the table. No papers, no forms, no taxes. I thanked him, gave him a handshake, and drove home smiling. The irony was too good. The woman who called ICE on me was married to the guy breaking immigration law for profit. I became obsessed. Every night after work, I'd gather evidence photos of his job sites, screenshots of online complaints, even a voice message of Bob bragging about saving thousands by paying in cash. I compiled everything into a neat little folder titled Justice for Karen. And then I made one anonymous phone call to the very agency she had once sicked on me. 2 weeks later, Willow Creek Estates woke up to the sound of heavy diesel engines. 3 black SUVs parked right in front of Karen's house, the same kind. But this time the visit wasn't for me. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, pretending to water the flowers. Karen came running out in her floral robe, screaming, "This is harassment. You're supposed to go after illegals, not homeowners." The lead agent calmly replied, "Ma'am, hiring undocumented workers is illegal." And that's when I saw him, the same ICE officer who had saluted me. He noticed me across the street, gave a subtle nod, and went right back to business. I can't lie, I enjoyed every second of it. Neighbors crowded behind hedges, whispering, filming. Bob tried to play innocent, saying it was all a misunderstanding, but one of the agents held up a piece of paper. I recognized instantly the payroll sheet I'd photographed. My fingerprints were all over it, figuratively speaking. Karen's face went pale. She tried to blame everyone but herself. "This is a setup," she screamed. "Somebody planted this." I sipped my coffee and said loud enough for the crowd to hear, "You're right, Karen. Sometimes the truth really is planted." By sunset, Bob was in custody. Karen stood frozen on her lawn, surrounded by neighbors she used to control. For once, no one defended her. The queen of the HOA had lost her crown. The investigation wrapped up fast. ICE confirmed Bob's company had knowingly hired 5 undocumented workers, paid them in cash, and skipped taxes. Karen tried to distance herself, crying that she didn't know anything. But those HOA checks she'd signed for Bob's community repairs. Yeah, that didn't help. In court, when the judge read the verdict, 3 months in federal custody, $38, $335 in fines, I was sitting quietly in the back wearing my veteran pin. The same ICE agent testified. The judge looked straight at Karen and said, "Next time, think twice before filing false reports against your neighbors." She nearly turned transparent. The fallout was instant. The HOA called an emergency meeting and voted her out. The woman who once decided how tall everyone's fence should be was now banned from attending community gatherings. By the weekend, a for sale sign went up in front of her perfect lawn. I didn't gloat, not out loud anyway, but I did host a small barbecue for the neighbors. The mailman showed up, laughed, and said, "Guess karma delivers, huh?" I just raised my glass. When Karen's moving truck finally pulled away, she wouldn't look at me. She didn't have to. The silence said it all. I sat on my porch under my American flag, the same one she said violated HOA code, and whispered to myself, "You called ICE on me, but in the end they came for you." And that's what I call poetic justice served cold with a side of karma. Lesson learned. When you weaponize hate, don't be surprised when it turns back and points right at you.